Hello everyone, my name is SANKET Jain and I welcome you all to Psyche Simplified. Today we are going to start one important series for psychology, that is the NCERT for psychology. Now with the help of this series, you will be able to understand all the concept of psychology in a very lucid manner. This series is important for all the students who are interested in leading the subject of psychology. And I ensure you that the level of content, the level of understanding which you are going to get with the help of the series, you will not find anywhere. First, we will start with class number 11. First topic is what is psychology. So if you open the NCERT, on the first page, you will find some topics, that is what is psychology, what is the relationship between mind and behavior, what are the popular notions about the discipline of psychology, how it is connected to natural science, how it is connected to social science, then how psychology is developed in India, what are the different branches of psychology, how it is connected to other discipline like law, medicine, philosophy, etc., and how can we apply the concept of psychology in everyday life. Other than this, very important, in NCERT first page, first chapter, you will also find one important quote which talks a lot about the concept of psychology. Here you will find over here. Now this quote is given by Norman Cousins. आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पर भी I have written this. The growth of the human mind is still the highest adventure on earth. Now Norman Cousins is a very senior journalist. He talks about that highest adventure of human is not any kind of physical exploration. Okay, you go to different places, you explore yourself. This is not the highest adventure. The highest adventure, that how understanding you develop about the concept of human mind, how you begin to learn about the growth of human mind. This is very important. This is the highest adventure. Why? Because if you understand the human mind, then you will understand the different features of our mental process, like how growth of human mind is connected to cognitive development, how it is connected to the concept of neuroplasticity, lifelong mental evolution, self-actualization, and etc. For example, the concept of cognitive development. If you understand this, then you will be able to learn that how cognitively we develop ourselves. The very important theory given by Piaget. What he said, that how our thinking develops, how the concept of reasoning develops, how the concept of understanding develops. This is given by Piaget. So this is the growth of human mind. This is also talking about that how human mind develops from sensory motor stage to formal stage. How it is happening that when we are child, we know nothing about reasoning, we know nothing about thinking or any other thing. But as soon as we come into class number 11 or class number 12, we begin to talk about psychology. We begin to talk about human mind, reasoning, hypothetical thinking, how these things are happening. It also talks about neuroplasticity. Okay, how brain rewire itself with the help of different kind of experiences. So neuroplasticity means our brain is also a malleable kind of thing. Okay, it keeps on changing. Okay, for example, if brain is using the concept of neuroplasticity, that means that if some portion of the brain is not able to perform, then another area of the brain will utilize that functioning. This is how our brain is made. It is called neuroplasticity. Our brain rewire itself. Other than this, we also talks about the concept of self-actualization given by Maslow. Okay, how human being reaches to the top of its position. Okay, what are the factors which is responsible for the personal growth of the individual? Okay, what we require, what are our basic needs? How can we do our highest? How can we use our highest potential? Okay, this is self-actualization. Lifelong evolution. Okay, our thoughts keep on developing, our intelligence keeps on developing, our identity keeps on changing. How these things are happening? Okay, so if we understand all these kind of thing, this is the highest adventure on earth. This is given by Norman Cousins. Okay, now after understanding this particular quote, you will get an idea that what we are going to read in the subject of psychology. We talks about thinking, some brain also, okay, human potential also, okay, intelligence also, thought also, belief system also, all these kind of thing. Now we will not go into so much of details. First of all, the basic thing. In the next page of NCERT, you will find why study psychology. What is the requirement to study the concept of psychology? Okay, see, if you want to understand human thought process, if you want to understand the mental process of the individual, if you want to understand yourself, okay, what you are from inside. You want to aware yourself. You want to understand your emotions, your identity, your personality. Okay, so if your personality is introvert, so you are exactly introvert or you are sometime introvert. This, if you want to understand, then you need to understand psychology. If you want to understand the society, that why is such kind of phenomena happening in the society, why there is so much tension, why there is so much aggression among the people, why people join extremist group. Okay, what is the psychology of terrorism, why people commit any kind of violence, why crowd behavior like mob lynching is there, why so many social problems are there, what kind of things are happening over there. If you want to understand society, then psychology is a subject for you. If you want to understand others also, okay, why people are so much philanthropic, why they are helping other people, why they are so much aggressive, okay, why that particular person does not want to interact with me, what kind of personality is he or she is having, what kind of leadership is adopted in the Indian national movement. If you want to understand some phenomena, then psychology is a subject for you. If you want to understand your potential, okay, you want to know your inner process, what are the factors which control our motivation, how you get yourself motivated, what is the difference between motivation and inspiration, which is important, motivation or inspiration, how you develop fight back capacity in your life, what is the concept of resilience. These things, if you want to understand, then psychology is a subject for you. Other than this, psychology also studied destructive and constructive human behavior to understand the human mind. What are the constructive human behavior? Like for example, you are motivated, you are resilient, you want to do something. This is constructive human behavior. Sometimes your behavior are also destructive. People involve themselves in substance abuse. Okay, they become drug addict, they become alcohol addict. So how these things are happening? This is destructive behavior on the people. Psychology also try to understand these particular things. Okay, so if you want to understand, if you want to have understanding about all these kind of things, then psychology is a subject for you. Okay, now after understanding this particular thing, before we move towards the definition of psychology, first of all, I want to tell you in brief that how this concept evolved. Okay, so understand, psychology actually becomes psychology in 1879. Before 1879, psychology was considered as a part of philosophy or considered somewhat as a part of physiology also. Okay, psychology became a separate discipline in 1879 when one important person, his name is Wilhelm Wundt, started first experimental laboratory for psychology and started first school that is known as School of Structuralism. Before that, it was considered as a part of philosophy. Now, in philosophy, we generally talk about the concept of soul. So, if you see the word psychology, psych or logia means study, psych means soul. So, in the initial phase, the ancient philosophy, even ancient Indian philosophy also talks about the concept of soul when they talk about the concept of psychology. But then after this, in 17th or 19th century, this concept changes. Now people or the scientists, they replace the concept of soul from the concept of mind. But still it is something which cannot be touched. It is still not scientific right now. Okay, so first of all, soul, atman, the concept of atman, then it become mind. Okay, mind means we will understand in psychology the concept of mental process, thinking, intelligence, decision making, reasoning, such kind of thing. And then after this, William James era, or we talk about 1879. From 1879 we begin to study the concept of consciousness. Consciousness means awareness, how aware you are about your mental process. Okay, so this scientific study of consciousness, this scientific study of behavior started in 1879 by Wilhelm Wundt, which was later on carried forward by William James also. These are also known as School of Structuralism or the School of Functionalism. For this, I also made one separate video, one advanced level video you can see over there. After consciousness, it becomes the study of behavior. Why? Because some people came forward and they tell to the society, they tell the people that we cannot touch consciousness. Can we? We cannot touch intelligence, we cannot touch thinking, we cannot touch reasoning. So why study them? Psychology is a scientific discipline. In science, we only read those things which can be touched, which can be tested. How can we test those things which we cannot touch? So avoid reading consciousness. Only study behavior. Behavior can be seen, behavior can be observed, hence behavior can be tested. So started the school of behaviorism by Watson and Skinner. Okay, and then in modern psychology we study about everything. Okay, we study mind also, behavior also, human experiences also. So this is modern psychology. So in this way the definition of psychology emerged. In the starting period it was considered as a study of soul only, then consciousness, then behavior. But in modern psychology we talk about that science, the psychology is a scientific study. First of all, very important term, scientific study means we will use scientific principles while reading the concept of psychology. Scientific study of mind, behavior, and human experiences. Okay, so this is how this definition of psychology emerged, and it is what you can see right now. So now you will see when you move forward in the NCERT, you also open the NCERT in front of you. So in NCERT, the first you will find what is psychology. So this is the first page of the NCERT. I also upload this infographic. So after completing this lecture, just focus upon these infographic. Everything will be clear to all of you. You will also find these all infographics in our application or in our Telegram channel. So what is psychology? Okay, so we study how it evolved. Now what we talk about right now, we talk about this modern psychology. So right now we are talking about that psychology is actually, we are talking about that it is the scientific study of mental process, experiences, and your behavior. Three things are there, and all these three things we will study scientific. So first of all, the first keyword is scientific. Okay, scientific study will be done. In science, what we do? We do experiment, we collect data, we observe data, we give the feedback. This is how the same thing is done in psychology also. So scientific study of what? Scientific study of three things. Mental process means something which we cannot touch. What are those things? Thinking, learning, remembering, perception, problem solving. Can you touch them? No. But we will study them under psychology. How? We will talk about them further. Experiences, your subjective experiences. Okay, for example, like let's say there is one event. Okay, let's say there is one cricket match between India and between Pakistan. Okay, same cricket match, same event is there, but the conscious experience can be different for the individual. Okay, if India win, then definitely one people might be very happy. Okay, second people might not be so much happy because he does not bother so much about cricket. So this is subjective conscious experience. Okay, pain, grief, how much emotional feeling you are getting. Okay, so this is your experiences. The third one is your behavior. Okay, behavior means your actions, your reactions, your reflexes, your decisions. Okay, how you are showing, how you are manifesting those things in your body. Okay, now behavior could be overt also or could be covert also. Means overt behavior are those behavior which can be visible. Okay, so this is a behavior. And other than this, under behavior also one more thing is stimulus response relationship. Means what kind of response you are giving by responding any kind of stimulus. Let's say for example there is a hot pan in the kitchen. This is the stimulus. Now if you touch the hot pan, what kind of response you are getting? You will remove your hand. This is the response. This is stimulus, this is response. Stimulus means anything present in environment, and for that thing what kind of response you are giving. Okay, let's say a sudden air is coming and you just remove your eyes. Okay, you just blink your eyes. This is your response from the air. This is known as stimulus response relationship. So I hope this thing is clear to everyone. So psychological studies how mental process, your experiences, and your behavior, how all these things are interacting for the betterment of human functioning. So whenever we function, okay, whatever we are doing right now, let's say for example you are studying. Okay, so you are studying, so definitely you are using your mental process, thinking, remembering, problem solving. You are experiencing something also, you are getting something, you are getting some feeling, oh I got this particular concept. And then you will behave also, okay, by giving any kind of test, by recalling fact, okay, by making any kind of decision, by taking any kind of question, by solving any kind of question. This is your behavior. So in human functioning, All these things are important: mental process, experience, and behavior. This is what psychology is all about. Okay, and all these things we are reading in scientific manner. This is very, very important. Moving forward, if we talk about the discipline. Now the next page you will find, after understanding, now we know that it is a scientific study of mind and behavior. This scientific study of mind and behavior is also divided under two major disciplines, you can say. Psychology is also studied as a natural science. It is also studied as a social science. Okay, if we talk about how it is studied as a natural science, means physics, chemistry, biology. Okay, social science means society. Okay, family, community, society, culture. Psychology is important from both perspectives. Now, what happens in physics, chemistry, biology? Experiments are conducted, scientific studies are conducted. In the same manner, psychological studies are also conducted. There is an important model which is known as hypothetical deductive model. Okay, we also read about the same concept in research method topic. Now, what happens in science? First of all, we make any kind of hypothesis. Then we collect data, we collect fact, and then we try to prove or disapprove that particular hypothesis. The same thing is done in psychology also. Okay, for example, one hypothesis is there that if you sleeping, good sleep impact your memory. This is the hypothesis. This is a tentative assumption. Now a psychologist want to prove whether good sleep impact memory or not. So he will collect participants, he will collect data, he will divide the participants into two groups. For one group, he will give them good sleep. For second group, he will not. He will make them sleep deprived, 4 to 5 hours sleep, and then he will compare. If A group getting good memory, getting good result in memory test, that means good memory, good sleep impact your memory. Okay, otherwise not. Hypothesis is either proved correct or disapproved. This is known as hypothetical deductive model. The same concept is followed in psychology also. For example, you heard about universe is expanding. This is a very common hypothesis. Okay, it is given by Edwin Hubble. Now later on, this hypothesis is proven, and hence we know Big Bang theory by George Lemaitre. The same thing is done over here also. Okay, so all the concept in psychology, all the concept you will find in learning, memory, attention, all this experiment are done on the basis of hypothetical deductive model. In this way, psychology is studied as a natural science. Okay, now psychology is also studied as a social science. Why? Because psychology also focus upon human as social being. Now what happens before the time? Society, sociology is separate, psychology is separate. Society is talking about how societies function. Psychology is talking about how individual functions. Now, after a certain bit of time, they both come together. Why? Because they want to understand individual also, and now how individual interact with the society also. Therefore, we have a major branch that is known as social psychology. Okay. For example, how your behavior is impacted by your environment. How your behavior is impacted by your environment. Now behavior is individual behavior, environment means everything: your family, your community, your society, your culture. Okay, so to understand your behavior and environment, we need to understand psychology of the individual also, we need to understand about the environmental factors also. Both are important now. So behavior is shaped by social and cultural context also. Okay, there are, let's say there are two kids, the one is reading in a very deprived environment, the another one is reading very in a very good environment. So definitely these environment will impact their studies. Okay, so in this way, psychology is also studied as a branch of social science. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, now moving forward, next we will see, after understanding the two notions, what is the relationship between mind and behavior. Now this is very, very important, understanding mind and behavior. Okay, so here you will see in the NCERT also, I have uploaded this page also. Now this page summary is given, you can complete with the help of this particular thing. Okay, now see, very important thing, normally students get confused with this approach. See, there are two things. The first one is brain, the second one is mind. एक होता है brain, दूसरा होता है mind. Brain is the physical organ, brain is the part of your body, correct? Mind is something which is not, which is actually part, but it cannot be touched. Okay, mind are the mental process. Body is a physical organ. You can touch your brain. Okay, it is a part of the body, you can touch it. Mind, you cannot touch it. These are the mental process. Now, before, when psychology was emerging, it was considered that they both do not interact with each other. They are completely separate. Brain functioning is separate, mind functioning is separate. But then they both come together and talks about that both are interdependent upon each other. Both has to interact with each other for the optimum functioning. Okay, this is very, very important. For example, let's take an example. Okay, you see something in the environment. You see a very good environment, like you see a good number of trees. Okay, you see you're going to a park. Okay, people are enjoying together. So this is what you're seeing. How you see this kind of thing with the help of your eyes. Okay, so now these eyes, this visual cortex will send signal to your brain with the help of neurons connectivity. A lot of neurons connectivity is there in our brain. Now this neuron will send message to your body and will activate your mental process, that by watching all the people playing in the garden, you feel very happy. By watching the environment, by watching the number of trees, by seeing the number of trees, you feel very happy. This feeling is created by the mind. Okay, in this way, both these things are connected to each other. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so you generally heard about metaverse. Okay, so now like Neuralink, a recent phenomena is there. So what the people are doing? Okay, they are giving you some equipment. With the help of this equipment, you are sitting in your room, and then you can visit to any kind of mall. You can visit to any kind of city wherever you want, just by sitting in the room. So your brain is also evolving, your mental process is also evolving. Okay, because in that particular system or Neuralink or any other thing, Temple, you heard about Temple by by Zomato founder. So these things talks about that brain and mind both works together. Okay, you are feeling something, you are experiencing something. Okay, so mind body interaction, mental state influence bodily process and vice versa also. This is the relationship between brain and mind. Okay, so this understanding of relationship is very important. Let's say for example, there is some injury in your brain, so that will also impact your behavior. Okay, so there is one important case studies in the field of psychology, the cases of HM, the cases of KF. We will study about them. The very famous case of Phineas gaze. What happens with Phineas gaze? One either not came into the he experienced a accident. So a iron rod just go through his brain. His brain was damaged. Now because of this damage in the brain, which is a physical organ, okay, his personality and his behavior also changes, which is his mental process. That means both are interdependent upon each other. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now after understanding this thing, now we know that psychology is a scientific understanding of behavior. This we have done. Now what happens, some people says that humans are also scientists, humans are also psychologists. So there is a very common sense versus psychology debate you will find over here. Okay, that we also psychologists, we are also scientists. For example, we also discuss things. We also talk a lot about Iran and Israel war. We also talk about a lot about India Pakistan policies. Okay, but we are talking all these things on the basis of common sense. These are not scientific things, correct? For example, you heard a very famous quote that birds of a feather flock together. Okay, now this is a common sense, but with the help of psychology, you will find that those who have common values, they live together very peacefully. This is science. Okay, with the help of common sense, you will see that marriage are very good, but a recent finding is there that marriage do not create any kind of result, a good result. You will find this research also recently. I post about this in our Telegram channel also. So common sense and scientific study both are different. Okay, common sense means just practical knowledge. It is just your intuition. Okay, this is common sense based on personal experiences. But in scientific study, you use systematic observation, empirical research. Okay, so psychology use scientific principles. Psychology does not rely upon common sense. Okay, now a very important experiment was conducted on this particular phenomena. I already clear them in our lectures. Okay, this is basic class of NCERT, so we will not talk about this. Okay, there is a very famous milligram experiment. I just give you in brief. Now, what happens in milligram experiment? They collected some participants. It was a fake experiment actually. Now they told the participant, they divided the participant into teacher or a student. Now they told the teacher to give the shock to the participant every time they give incorrect answer, and they told the teacher increase the level of shock every time by 20 volt if they answer incorrect. Now it was seen in this experiment that the teacher gave the students shock as much as high as 400 volt. Now this is a deadly situation. Now teachers are giving shock just because they are not answering correctly, and they are giving to the shock of 400 volt. It was a fake experiment actually, but in reality it will not happen. People will not give shock to the teachers, will not give shock to the students just if they are unable to answer correctly. In reality it will not happen so much, but in experiment it was happening. Why? Because it was an order by the milligram. Some authority is there. So when authority is there, our behavior changes. People behavior changes when they listen something by anyone which is powerful. Why do you think why Holocaust happens? Hitler says something, people follow. Why mob lynching happens? Okay, such why riots happens? Such kind of things happens because some authority figure is saying something to you. This is scientific study. Okay, now it will contradict common sense, definitely. Okay, so therefore psychology should always be studied as a scientific study. If you want to understand human behavior, then scientific route is very much important. Okay, do not rely upon common sense, because scientific study rely upon evidences, not intuitions. Now after understanding this, we also talks about that how psychology is developed. Okay, so developing psychology, there are some important names over there. I told you psychology as a modern discipline developed by in 1879 by Wilhelm Wundt. Wilhelm Wundt is the first person who conducted an experiment in Leibniz University. Introspection, the method, you will see over here also the image of Wilhelm Wundt, 1879. First psychology laboratory, first psychology experiment. He uses some method and he studied the concept of consciousness. Okay, he talks about that consciousness can be understood by breaking it into different element. Okay, for example, if you want to understand sensation, like if you are having toothache, if you want to understand this, then break it into different element, like where you are having exactly toothache, how much toothache you are having. Okay, what is the sensation, what is the feeling you are getting over there. In this way we can study the concept of consciousness. Then it was taken forward by William James. He also talks about consciousness. I already uploaded one video on both the concept. Okay, a 1 hour long video you can see over there. Then Gestalt psychology is there. Okay, he talks about perception, holistic understanding is very important. Okay, just see the video upon this. He talks about that we should not study everything into element. We should study everything in a holistic manner. Holistic manner is very important. Okay, for example, orientation session is done before you conduct any classes. Why? Because they give you holistic understanding of the syllabus. This is very important. Then behaviorism, John Watson, he talks about that only study behavior, do not study consciousness. Consciousness is useless because we cannot measure it. Then very famous psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud, do not study consciousness, do not study behavior, just study unconscious motive. Okay, it is very important. Unconsciousness, things which are not in consciousness, this also changes your behavior. Very important. Then very famous humanistic psychology, it talks about human potential, motivation, such kind of concept. Cognitive psychology, it talks about our mental process, thinking, memory, perceptions, these kind of process it talks about. So these are the development which happened in the field of psychology. Now they all people talks about different concept. These are known as different schools of psychology. School of structuralism, school of functionalism, Gestalt school, behavioristic school, psychoanalytical school, cognitive school, or humanistic school. These are the major schools. Some other schools are also there, for example, information processing school, evolutionary school, socio-cultural schools, but these are not so much important. These are the major schools you will find in the field of psychology. Okay, I hope this is important. Now, other than this, psychology was also developed in India simultaneously, but in India, the roots are not so much deep. We still read all the concept in the field of psychology, which is actually taken from Western psychology. Okay, but India also has some historical roots. Okay, you will see over here also, this is the development of psychology. Okay, you can see that in Indian philosophy also, we talks a lot about the concept of psychology. Okay, so what happens in 1915, you will see, first psychological laboratory was established in Calcutta University, then it was taken forward in 1916 also, then 1938 department was set up, 1938 another department was set up. Okay, so these are the important development in the field of psychology in India. And we also have very deep root. Why deep root? Because our Indian philosophy is also very rich. Now, whenever we read psychology, we only talk about Western philosophers. But in Indian psychology also, a lot of things are there which actually influence psychology. For example, the concept of Atman. For example, the humanistic psychology, Abraham Maslow, has taken its inspiration from Hinduism, from Jainism, from Buddhism. A lot of concepts are there. Yoga talks a lot about the concept of mental process. Okay, if you see Ashtanga yoga talks about psychological world also and physical world also. Okay, in the same way Hinduism, in the same way Jainism. Okay, righteousness path. Okay, so these are what are related to the concept of psychology also. These are the philosophical roots in the context of India. So in India, you will see psychology was developed into major four phases. Phase number one, pre-independence period. So before 1947, psychology was not so much developed. There were some key scholars, for example, N. Sen Gupta, Green Shakar Bose, who is very famous in interpreting Sigmund Freud school. He also founded very famous Indian Psychoanalytical Association. Okay, although in American Psychoanalytical Association, he founded Indian Psychoanalytical Association. So what happened in pre-independence period? The growth was not so much very much, but expansion started after 1960s. You will find. Okay, psychological branches started. Now we begin to, like, for example, it begin to study that why people are behaving like this. For example, if you talk about first war of independence, 1857. Before 1857, in the time of 1857, you will find not all the people in India contribute to the war, but in 1947 all the people contribute. So why? How society is changing. Okay, why society is functioning like this. Such kind of concept begin to study by Indian psychologists also. Then after post 1960, shift taken problem oriented approach, means Indian social issues. In before 1960s, Indian social issues was not discussed. All the concept of psychology was Western focused, from the culture of West. Now in West, culture is different. Their culture is individual culture, but in India, culture is different. Okay, our culture is collectivistic culture. So how to understand Indian culture if we are talking everything about the Western culture? So from Indian culture also we should study something. This is known as cross culture psychology. It was developed post 1960, and then after this 1970 onwards, Indianization of psychology happens. Okay, while understanding the psychology, integration of collectivistic culture and integration of Indian approach started. This is how psychology was developed into different phases in the context of India. I hope this thing is clear to everyone. Now, in this lecture, we will resume in our next class. After this, this is the first part of NCERT class 11. If you like this lecture, then please give a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and also share this with your friends. This, if you find this qualitative, then if you have any issue, any comment, if you want to pass on, then just write them in your comment. And if you motivate us, then we will bring the complete NCERT series. So after this, we also have some important point, branches and how psychology is applied. This we will complete in our next lecture, the next part of class number 11, what is psychology, part number 2. Other than this, I also want to I also want to give an important information to all of you. Our foundation batch for psychology is going to start on 11th of May. This batch is online, offline mode both available. You will find all the tests, total 8 tests are available with model answer, with evaluation. Personal mentorship is there for 2 years. Okay, and the fees for the online course is 35,000. Okay, you can also take in offline mode. Just visit this website, or for any query related to the subject of psychology, you can call upon this number. So this is your one-stop solution if you want to opt psychology as your optional, and if you want to get good marks. You can see that a lot of toppers are getting good marks with our course, and you will find all the NCERT's PDF, all the material, test series, personal mentorship, everything is available into this course. So if you want to join this, please visit our website, or you can call upon this number. Thank you. I see you in the next part.